Hey everyone, what is going on? I'm Matthew Oliver with Stillwater Alchemy, and today I want to do a little bit of post Aquarius full moon discussion. Talk about what this full moon embodies, encompasses, what you may have been feeling leading up to the full moon, what you are feeling now, just so we can gain some additional clarity and to help you have some tools and resources moving forward. So let us dive straight into the chart. So this Aquarius full moon happened at 2:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, August 19th. Now, you may have already been feeling the effects of this full moon leading up to it, so over the weekend. Something really important to note is that with this full moon being in an air sign, Aquarius, there's going to be all of these faculties around the mind, your thoughts, your ideas, your beliefs, the people that you connect with, right? Like if we think of Aquarius and Gemini, both of these air signs are ruled by kind of like a human, right? Aquarius is the water bearer. Gemini are the twins. We also have Libra, which is a scale, which is man-made. And then Virgo, which is a Mercury ruled sign, is also the maiden, a human. So these signs, the air signs and Virgo, are seen as being very intelligent or philosophical or wanting to have these new thoughts or ideas to help the collective. What I've been hearing from a lot of people in and around this full moon is a lot of mental chaos or a lot of mental breakthroughs, depending on your chart is situated. The one thing I will say is, given that this full moon was almost directly opposing Mercury retrograde, again, talking about faculties of Mercury, the mind, communication, and then we also have the moon exactly making a square to Uranus. These are all in fixed signs, right? So when we're being asked to fundamentally examine our mind, our beliefs, fixed air, on what help us to stay safe and secure and keep us financially afloat. And then also how we communicate and shine in our authentic being. That can be extremely overwhelming. This is also this notion of who are you talking to? Who are you talking with? Right? Because if your environment is around certain friends, certain families, certain lovers, certain people that you connect with in your job that are causing you to doubt yourself, to doubt your dreams, to doubt possibilities and potentials around what you are wanting most, of course, that is going to affect your mind. We know how important mental health is. So if you're in a space where your mind is not aligned, is not focused, is not receiving the nourishment that it needs, this full moon quite literally could have been a wake-up call on what you are needing to facilitate those faculties to bring success. Now, this is also something that I see a lot that some astrologers go back and forth with, is that this full moon was co-present Pluto. Now, it's a very wide co-present, right? Pluto at 0 degrees, the moon at 27. However, I do still think it's relevant because as the moon was gaining light and moving into that full moon phase, especially Sunday, when the moon was closer in conjunction to Pluto, there may have been these subconscious energies that were coming forward, or this newness, or this emergence of who you're truly meant to be, who you're truly meant to serve, who you are truly meant to connect with, right? The big thing with Aquarius, which is also linked with the sign of Pluto, is the truth. And the truth can be scary, right? Because it is what it is. And some people aren't ready to hear the truth, including ourselves. So if your emotional truth is catching up to your body, which is then catching up with your mind, or potentially a different order, and that means that you know deep down that you are likely going to change Uranus, how you speak, Mercury, or think about a certain person, a certain opportunity, a certain obligation, that can be a lot because, in essence, the ego is going to have to die or shift in a pretty significant way for you to change or to leave a stable situation in your life. What I'm saying here is that it is a lot. It can be a lot on your nervous system. And furthermore, we can see poor Venus over here in Virgo is enclosed by malefics. She is just leaving that opposition to Saturn, but then she's coming up right away to the square with Mars. So for those of you who have strong Taurus and Libra energy in your chart or strong mutable energy in and around this 15-degree mark, that also would have added to the intense contractive feeling. So if you are a Libra Taurus rising specifically, given that Venus would be your chart ruler, that also adds another layer on top of this full moon, right? Or if Venus is one of your time lords, be a different timing technique. She's going through it right now. And this also adds another layer of your close relationships, how you connect, how you want to connect. I've talked about this in past content, but with Venus and Virgo, it's a very service oriented energy. So if you are giving and giving and giving or doing and doing or doing of being of service, being of service, being of service, and that's not being reciprocated in relationships at home with family in your career, then this full moon would probably activate that being like, why am I nurturing or giving myself to this energy when I'm getting nothing in return? It's depleting, it's draining, I'm feeling desiccated. Something has to change for me to be rewarded. And this might not also just be a human relationship. This might be your relationship to your job or to a larger entity in your life. So Aquarius, given that it's an air sign traditionally ruled by Saturn, it doesn't mince words. It kind of like that harsh truth. It's kind of like if you think you studied a lot for an exam and you get your test score back and it's not good at all. Like there's no sugarcoating it. It's like you didn't study well enough, or there were certain things that you missed, or it just shows you that you need extra support in that area. So, like I said, this full moon definitely feels like a wake-up call. And I've also been saying this a lot, which adds some hope and some levity in that Mercury is going to station direct at the end of August. It's going to still have that post retrograde period, but that's all right. It's going to be moving forward. August 28th, I believe. And then in and around that time, the 29th, Venus is going to move into its home sign of Libra. And then it's also going to be in whole sign trine aspect to Jupiter. So we're going to have both benefics in an air sign. This is going to add a lot of new movement, a lot of new thought, and a lot of good momentum after quite honestly, like June, July, and August have all been challenging in different ways, astrologically speaking. So if you know there's something that you need to address or you need extra support on, this is the time to do it. And with Mercury still being retrograde, this is also the perfect opportunity to maybe not be on social media, not have to connect, maybe wanting to hermit a little bit and just focus on you. So that as we get closer and closer to September, when a lot of the transits are getting better for everyone, no matter what your natal chart looks like, then you're on the right path. I'm also going to be releasing a podcast this week around some benefits of Mercury retrograde or ways that you can use it. So stay tuned for that. And also on the theme of Mercury retrograde, if in the past year you have purchased a one question reading from Stillwater Alchemy, you can receive a 20% promo code exclusively from me. So what I'm going to do is put the link in to contact me through Stillwater Alchemy's website. If you received a one question reading, let me know your name, ideally your order number if you still have it in your archives. If not, just give me the name in which the invoice was sent. I'll give you a promo code that you can use on the website. That promotion will be going on until the end of August. This is something that at one point I was going to turn off the one question readings, but then I didn't, or I thought I did and I didn't. And then I got a whole bunch of invoices for them, and I found that they've been really helpful for individuals during this time. And furthermore, this all started exactly 1 year ago. The one question readings, I released them mid-August of 2023, so it's already been a year. So I want to celebrate those who have invested into that service and give them a little bit of a savings if they so choose. So with that, that concludes our recap of this Aquarius full moon. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will do my best to get back to them. I see you all. I know you're doing the work. Please, 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 the next 10 days, the last few days of this month, stay strong in your resolve. Reach out for professional support if you have the means, and be open. I think we've all experienced this in some degree or another when we are completely open to this process. When we're open to receive higher forms of support, then there is a song, a book, a podcast, a true intuitive knowing of what we're meant to do next. And something that I have personally taken, and you can take this if it resonates, is that all I need to know is the next step. I don't need to know what's happening 3 months from now, 6 months from now, or a year from now. If I get the download of just do this next, then I'm like, great, then I already know what I get to do tomorrow or for this week. I don't need to burden my mind, especially during a Mercury retrograde, on how everything is supposed to work out. So long as I have the next step, that's fantastic. Can you imagine like being at an airport and being like, I need to figure out every single flight I'm going to take for the rest of my life or for the rest of this year right now? And the agents are like, okay, do you want insurance? Do you want to back things up? Like, you want to figure out every single flight you're going to take for the rest of your life right now? It'd be pretty overwhelming. So if we're trying to figure out, it's like, I want this for my job or this for my relationship or this for my health, even for the next month, it's like, okay, but what do you do right now? And truly, this is something I've been asking a lot of clients when they're getting really overwhelmed. It's like, okay, are we taking time to calm our mind? Whether that's meditation, whether that's walking in nature, whether that's being still, whether that's eating the right nutrition. How are we taking moments to be still for our mind, for our body, for our spirit? Number two, did you go outside? Did you feel some kind of sun on your skin or just getting fresh air? Number three, have you moved your body? Have you exercised? Have you allowed different positive resources that have been proven from many different faculties to benefit your well-being? And if not, these are things you can fall back on. And realistic, if you had all the money, the best relationship, the best career, wouldn't you be doing these things anyway? You would want your body to look and feel as good as possible. You would want to do things that benefit your mental health. You would want to be outside or to do things that make you feel good. So if we reverse engineer this by prioritizing your health, by exercising, by helping your mind, by being still and appreciating your divine feminine, you're getting closer to your dream life anyway. So I know there are days where it seems extremely difficult or where it seems like nothing is working, or it feels like you've been doing this for months or years and you're still not feeling like you're moving ahead. You just keep going anyway. One final thing I'll say, and this is very in theme with Mercury retrograde in the sense of when you can remember times in your life when you've already overcome something extremely challenging or extremely difficult to give you courage or faith in this moment. And I'll share a personal example. When I was 20, I received a full bursary slash scholarship of $3,000 to study abroad in Brisbane, Australia. Many of you who have followed me know my life to an extent. You know that I did that year abroad in Australia. What you may not know is that when I received that confirmation, what should be a very like happy, celebratory time in my life, my parents immediately told me to rescind the offer. Like, you're running away from your problems. We thought you wanted to go into dentistry. This is going to delay you. Like, they were so confused and they did not want me to go. Like, kind of like screaming on the phone, didn't want me to go. And this didn't make any sense. I was 20 at the time, and I knew that this was a once in a lifetime opportunity. It got to a point where a family friend came and visited me at the coffee shop I was working at over the weekend. And she's an Aries, so her and I like kindred spirits in a way. But I told her, I was like, if my parents are not going to budge on this, I just won't talk to them. Like, I'm not going to allow something that I know deep in my soul, something I've always wanted to do, study abroad in a different country, be taken away from me from my parents. Like, that just didn't make any sense. It was all done on my own. I was like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And literally like a week later, my parents eventually came around. I think they realized how silly they were being, to a point where they were telling family friends like, oh, we're so proud of Matthew. It's one of the best universities in the world. Like, we couldn't be happier. Like, okay. My point in sharing that story is I knew deep down that opportunity was meant for me. Even there was so much resistance. There was a pretty big obstacle in my way, and it was something that I wasn't going to cower away from. And it wasn't something I was going to say no to. I was like, this is meant for me. This is where I'm going. Either get on board or move out of my way. And I feel personally that there are times in our life, and this goes back to the air energy and Mercury retrograde that we're facing with this Aquarius full moon, and even seeing where Venus was enclosed by malefics in the sense of sometimes it's only for us. Like, we have this deep belief, this deep knowing that something is meant for us. And it can be hard or confusing when people around us are saying the complete opposite. And that's where having that faith, that resilience, that spiritual practice, when you know it's for you. nothing can deter you. And so with that, you keep going, even when it is hard, when it is challenging. And then when you break through to the other side, you can look back and being like, thank God I didn't give up on myself, that I kept the faith, that I had this resilience to make it through. And then years later, if you're going through something immensely challenging, you can look back and being like, oh, I had that bravery, that courage, that knowing 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And this is a similar feeling to what I had then. So maybe, just maybe, I can get through it this time. Maybe the results are going to be that much more grand, that I'm going to live such a beautiful life, even though this period is hard right now. And one final note, and then I'll let you all go. I was watching a movie recently, and it was about 2 hours, and it was a movie that was pretty popular. I just had never seen before. And for the first hour, I was so bored. And there was like great acting, like everything, but there was no stakes. There was no conflict. Nothing was happening. I was like, oh my gosh, like when is something going to change? Like I'm really, really bored right now. And I thought that from the soul's perspective, of the soul being the starring actor of our lives, plus the producer, director, and the audience, that if we just lived a life with no conflict, no obstacles, nothing ever bad happening, how bored would we be? The soul's like, I'm reincarnated into this. It's not saying that suffering or pain or strife are good things, but we learn a lot when we go through those times, whether it's gaining empathy, compassion, understanding, knowing, a soul purpose being revealed because of these things that the human may deem as negative, but the soul has signed up for. Also, later on in the movie, things did happen. I'm like, finally. But I was kind of like chuckling at myself. I'm like, right. If you believe in reincarnation, you believe in that the hard things that we endure are meant for our soul's evolution, then when you're going through it, especially when it seems like it's getting harder, 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 and we want to give up, that's when the breakthrough is about to happen, which I understand. It's immensely hard and sometimes seems impossible for us to believe it in that moment. But I want to share that anecdote because I've been getting a lot of DMs over the past couple of weeks of like, it's not working, it's so hard, why is this happening, why is that happening? And I see you, I hear you, trust me, I'm going through it too. And that's why I know that these different tools and faculties of prioritizing things and making certain things priorities and non-negotiables drastically help in more ways than one, that if you do them, that the days do get easier. It's that like 1% betterment from Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you have not read it or listened to the audiobook, I highly, highly recommend it. I've been recommending it like crazy, given that Venus is in Virgo, and a lot of my clients have been fans. The audiobook is really good too, Atomic Habits by James Clear, and I'm not endorsed. There's no positive affiliation on my end. Unless James Clear is watching this, and please let me know. I love the book. But that is also another resource that I would highly recommend, is this knowing that if we just allow ourselves to improve 1% each day, that eventually we're going to break through to the other side and we're going to see the benefit of the fruits of our labor across every part of our life, right? High tides, rise all ships type analogy. So with that, I'm wishing you all a phenomenal rest of your month. Trust me, when we get to September, it's going to get really, really good. Okay? That's all from me, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.